Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to help change the world one person or one starfish at a time. As always, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, share. That's how we get the word out. Appreciate you guys doing that. I'm excited for our guest today. We were just having a great conversation before. Giuseppe and we met on in Arte, and this is our first time meeting. Boutique fitness owners is who he helps to build their scale and build their operations. He's been in the industry over a decade, but started on his own about a year ago. So just new, very faith-based, and came from some interesting backgrounds, which we'll get into on the podcast. So thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Angela. Super excited to be here and talk with you for a little bit.
Awesome. Well, let's get into because I was like, well, I stopped him because I was like, this is really good. Let's go into where you started. You started in music or something like way back. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing
Yeah,
and then
so
got you to fitness.
so you can see the Metallica Master Puppets poster. As a kid, music was my life. It just brought me so much joy and helped me out through my tough times. And I just saw a huge connection of, wow, this makes me feel good. This empowers me. How can I replicate that? And so I became very proficient playing a guitar player and studied that for so long through my adolescence up until college. I went to Berklee College of Music. And during that time, my goal was get a band, travel the world, inspire people. And I did a lot of that. Went touring in Canada, did some really cool things in Europe. But at the school, they really didn't teach you how to make money. They just taught you, hey, this is how you can be proficient, and this is what harmony is, and really all the important, intricate stuff, but nothing about how do you get paid to be a performer. Struggled a lot financially, but needed a job. And I worked as a front desk person at a gym. So like free gym membership, why not? Uh, Turned out that I had really good communication with members and was able to get people to sign up. Wasn't really trying to sell, was just like, hey, I work out here, it's great. And that management really took a liking to me. And so I went from, being that front desk employee and kind of rising the ranks up all the way to being a director of operations and sales for a large, prominent boutique studio franchise for the Northeast. I've led initiatives for, a lot of things in New York City, like opening up the flagship for Orangetheory Fitness, to working with Crunch Fitness, a big box kind of gym, and just leading sales and operation initiatives and leading teams. So it's another way to empower people, as we all know, being healthier and better. It's going to help others around us. And so this was my other way of saying, okay, well, music does this. You can use music in the gym, right? But if we could help people get healthier, especially what's going on in our country where it's just, such a tough time, the next step is how do we empower people who are really focused on helping others, but maybe don't know how to do it on an operational sense. Maybe they don't understand the business side. So I saw that as an opportunity in the market. And a year ago, I started my own, boutique consulting firm. It's RiseUp Innovations. Super excited to be helping these people. And my mission in my business is just to how do I impact the most? And that's not just by myself. That's through other people and their visions and making sure that we are helping those people out so that they can get their message across of living a healthier and better life.
Do you still play?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Okay. Are
I've
you in
got
a
like
band?
5 or 6 guitars. Um,
Oh,
just chilling. Yeah, I love to play. I still do. And I still have my band that we play all the time.
cool.
But it's not as consistent, obviously, as more of the fitness stuff has been.
Right, right. That's kind of the side. That's cool. You never know where it's going to lead. So when you decided you decided to go out on your own here about a year ago, what were some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome in order to do that?
Yeah, I think the first obstacle is validation. Am I good enough to actually go on my own? Like, do I, even though I had a really great track record and success in what I've done, you always have that self doubt of like, okay, well, I've done this with this organization and this team. Is this something I can bring on my own? And so it was that and this understanding of where I was. I felt like I could bring more to the table and I wasn't able to do that. And that's no one's fault. That's just how the business was run, and that's totally fine. But that coming over that fear of like, hey, everyone's telling you you're able to do this. You're the only person that's telling you you can't. You're the only voice that should matter. And so it just took understanding that fear is the great indicator of doing something and just going for it and accepting that, hey, like It may work out, it may not work out, but you'll never know unless you try. So that's been the journey. And thank goodness it's been okay. It's been good. We've been successful in certain things and we're still growing. I mean, we're still really small, but there is a path, which is really exciting. So I would say fear and just validation of moving forward into something that people may not see as an opportunity be an opportunity.
So what are some ways that you can raise that self-belief? Because I believe that is a big thing for a lot of people that stops them from reaching their full potential. So what are some things that you've done that has helped you build your self-belief? Or yeah, what are some
Yeah,
tips?
great. No, great question. I think the biggest thing that's honestly helped me is the Live Hard program.
Hmm.
And if people don't know the Live Hard program, it was founded with Andy Frisella, and it's everyone knows 75 hard, right? But there's these different phases. Confidence is built through the promises you keep yourself.
Hmm.
And I'm the type of person where I will put everybody else in front of me to get the job done, which has led to success in what I do. I believe in servant leadership, but then I forget about me. And when you forget about yourself, you realize that certain things kind of fall through the cracks. And so having the discipline to commit to the things that you're promising yourself, even when things come up and you fulfill that, um, it really shows the type of person you are. For prime example, I went on a trip to Hawaii to visit family, and during that trip, I had to do my workouts and everything, and everyone's just chilling, having great drinks on the beach, and here I am walking around the Four Seasons doing my outdoor workout, and I'm thinking to myself, man, no one's doing this, but that's what it takes to do some really great things. So I really, really, really encourage anyone if they're just like, how do I build this self confidence? Start with the 75 hard program. You'll want to do the whole Live Hard program, but ultimately it's what promises can I keep to myself? I say I'm going to do this for
Hmm.
me. Can I keep it? Can I follow through? Because then when things come up, which they always do, you can't let those things stop you from achieving what you really want. And if you
Hmm.
can do that with just those basic things that are on those lists, it's
Hmm.
easier on a higher level, especially within your business.
So when you were doing that in Hawaii, I'm curious, did people kind of laugh at you, or did you get a lot of because that's something people I think deal with a lot is like the people around. So I'm curious, was your circle like always super supportive, or did some of them maybe not be so supportive as you transitioned and did
No,
all the things?
yeah. Well, it's funny, I failed that program I think 7 times
Oof.
before I could get it. And the eighth time, I just didn't tell anybody. I was like, this is for me. This is not for me to share with anybody. I gotta do this for me. And yeah, a lot of people were like, wow, you're going to Hawaii for 10 days, like you're gonna be doing all this stuff, and I was working at the same time, right? So it wasn't like really vacation, it was work and
Right.
enjoyment of a nice environment. But yeah, there are certain people when we would go out for dinner, we'd have a beautiful bottle of wine, all this stuff, and I'm like, I can't, not gonna have it. And there were definitely people who were like, that's crazy, but it didn't matter to me because they're not on the same path, right? And I think that's so true, as you know, from entrepreneurship, is certain people are just not on that path, and that's okay. Certain people, I believe personally, aren't meant to be on that path.
Hmm.
Um, but you're on that path and you will find the people. I believe you attract what you put out there. And that's kind of what's led me to Arte and everything else. You'll find those people that understand, oh, get it, 100%. But yeah, the vast majority were like, you're crazy, dude. Like, you should be enjoying yourself. I said, I am enjoying myself. I feel good. So yeah.
That's really good. I like that. And I think anyone listening to this, something I've been on a little bit of a rampage about is the whole drinking thing. I haven't drank since 2018, and it's amazing how many people like try to make you feel bad for not drinking, which is really silly because there's no reason they make you like why? Who cares if I don't want to drink? And but yet a
100%.
lot of people are like, "What do you mean you won't have a glass of wine? What do you mean you won't?" I'm like, I just don't drink. Is it a problem? I'm like, no, I just don't drink. Anyway,
It becomes a
so
projection, right? It's like they're projecting themselves onto you, and it's like, well, I'm okay. I'm good. We can still have fun. But
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. And so, you failed 7 times and you got the eighth time. Why do you think you failed 7 times, and what was the difference in the eighth time?
I didn't look at it as a mental health program or a
Oh,
mental toughness program. I looked at it more as I just need to get my stuff together. I've been in fitness for over 10 years, but I have not been always in the best shape. I've been that type of guy who, cycles through. It's funny. I listened to one of Andy Frisella's podcasts. He talks about how he was the guy who would pull his shirt to make the shirt look better. And I'm like, man, that's me, literally, like my gut, all that stuff. So it was more about how can I look better? And what I realized that it really had nothing to do with that. It had to do with my mental processing. I had to just do something different. And so, like I said earlier, like I didn't tell anybody. Um, I just said, I'm gonna do this. The only person I told was my girlfriend because she lives with me. So, she had to know, right, why we weren't doing that. But I really believe that when I realized this is about me, this is a mental toughness program. And if I can't follow through with these 5 things on a consistent level, I'll truly know if I can do anything bigger. And that's what kept me going, was understanding that this is about rewiring the mind. And ever since I fully completed it, I've never gone back to my old lifestyle and everything else. Even though I'm not on the program at the moment, I still do pretty much everything on that program. It's just such a great foundation to keep me engaged, keep me going no matter what is coming for that day.
That's good. Yeah, I agree with that. Do the things you say you're going to do, period. And I think that's where most people lack, where they're at. So you were with this company, for a long time and then you weren't. How secure is someone's job?
It's not secure. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. But here's what I will tell you, and I think I did this a little differently. I always knew I was never going to be with a company forever, but
Hmm.
I did know that working for a company was going to teach me skills that I wouldn't learn in school. Um, I learned how to be a gym owner, working 16, 14-hour days, managing teams, hiring people. And I started young. I started at, 21 years old, and I had people older than me learning how to hire people, how to fire people. You don't learn that stuff in school. And I wanted to make sure I made as many mistakes as possible, while, being the best that I could be. And, I accepted, really didn't ask for much money. I just accepted what they were being willing to pay to me because I knew that this was my education. This wasn't
Hmm.
my life. And so part of me always knew that working for somebody or working in a company wasn't my future. But
Hmm.
I do believe in just talking with a lot of my friends in my circle who went through school but aren't finding the success that I've seen or that I've been a part of. It was because I decided to just do the work in these organizations and learn what's good leadership and what's bad leadership. Like, what's an example of that? And you can learn from those sides. So I feel like those skills that I built were very valuable. So if anyone's, in a job where they're doing great, just make sure you're learning still, make sure you're growing still. And the moment you're not, that's a sign. That's a sign that something needs to change instantly.
So where did that come from that you thought, you weren't going to work a job forever? Are your parents entrepreneurs or, how are you raised? Like that's not
Yeah,
normal. Most people are thinking they're going to work
great
a job
question.
for the rest
So,
of life.
I come from an Italian immigrant family. My grandfather was a carpenter. He came off the boat. My other grandfather wasn't an entrepreneur, but he was an entrepreneur and a professional baseball player back when they weren't getting paid anything. So he had like another job on the side, but he grew his position from being at the bottom to the top of Jim Beam Brands, back when it was really a popular business in the early 2000s. And I think
Hmm.
it was more of, can I work in an environment or a team that aspires to be that way, or do I have to create that myself? So it was more of, maybe it wasn't necessarily starting a business, but if I could be at the top level with the great team of this business, right? Being a partner with somebody, can we have a team that is going to really aspire to just keep growing and keep going? And I just couldn't find that. I could not find it. And that's why I went on my own. I was like, I'm going to do it myself. I'm build that team. We'll have some fun and we'll change lives through this practical practice.
So when you're building a team, what are some things that you're looking for, as you build a team to build
Yeah.
that? Like, I like that.
First thing is they got to be smarter than me. Um, they have to.
Hmm.
I believe that so much. Even when I was operating, these studios, I would hire managers that would know more about the brand than I would, because that wasn't my skill. My skill was control, manage, support, and making sure that they were getting the fuel they needed. So the first thing I look at is, what does this person bring to the table that I probably don't know? Um, and then secondly, are they the type of person that if their back is against the wall, do they stay or do they push? And, I'm not a yes man type person, and I enjoy conflict when there is good arguments about it. Meaning, if someone disagrees with my position, awesome. Tell me why. Because I have the data that proves my position. I want to hear the data that proves yours. And I'm not the type of person to be like, you know what, you're right. Like 100%. I am wrong. Or, hey, if you don't have the data, we're gonna go in this direction. So it really comes down to what are they really good at that's better than me? And how can I position them to be successful? And then are they the type of person that can go through hard times? Because there's always going to be
Mm.
hard times, especially at the top of the ladder where you're trying to make decisions for the next couple years and wanting to scale and move forward. So I would say those are the two real main things that I look for in anybody that I'm
Love
looking
that.
at.
So in an interview, what are some questions I mean, because until they've been through a hard time, you really don't know. So how do you like kind of hopefully know ahead of time that they can handle hard times by like questions or thoughts or how they respond to things? How do you figure that out fast?
Yeah. So, I'll ask a lot of generic questions in the beginning, just to kind of get them talking. And then sometimes I'll throw some really non-work related questions where it's like, if you're on an island, what's your favorite movie that you bring on that island? And that will tell me one, their age and like what they know and where they're at in their life. Sometimes I'll say, hey, you have your final meal. You brought capital punishment. You have your final meal in the jail. Like, what's your final meal? That's going to tell me a lot about what their choices are and everything else. And then once I realize that they're comfortable with me, my favorite question I love to ask is, I've asked all these questions to find interest of why I should hire you, but what's one reason I shouldn't? And
Mm.
a lot of people will freeze. They'll go, oh, and that will tell me whether they truly understand, because I'm really looking to see what's your weakness, right? But I want to know how they frame that answer. Some people know how to frame it, and some people don't. And when you don't know how to frame it, it tells me, okay, you haven't had enough experience to do this type of position, which is okay. There might be a better position for you someplace else within the organization. Or if you frame that right and we understand that you know your weakness, but you know how to turn it into a strength and what you need to do, that tells me that person's creative, they're ambitious, they kind of understand what they bring to the table.
I was talking to somebody the other day. That's so funny you bring that up. Because I was talking to him the other day and he's like, yeah, you asked that. And then like if they're like, oh, I work too hard or I'm too intense or I'm too motivated, it's like, no.
Yeah, like that's not really what we're looking for.
That's not
Exactly.
right. That's BS.
Exactly.
So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, that's a really good
Yep.
question. I'm going to start to use that. I like that one.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
great one.
yeah, that's really cool. So what's your vision with where you're going with your company and what do you see is a need out there for the fitness industry?
Yeah, I think there's a big need for specifically, boutique fitness is grown so much, specifically from the pandemic. Even I would say 2019 is where it really took off. And just so your audience understands, big box is like Crunch Fitness, Planet Fitness. You go in, you check in, you go to any kind of equipment, you do your own workout. Boutique it's a class based or specific method based program. So like Cycle Bar, Orangetheory, Solid Core. And those have grown because people like community, people like authenticity. You go into a big box gym, you might pay $10 a month and do your own workout, but sometimes you don't see results. Whereas if you go into a class and I just have to follow through with this instructor and their method is telling me and just do this every day, especially for busy professionals like the studios I used to operate in New York City, it was just really great. And so the issue we're finding and that I'm seeing is you have so many people that are so passionate about their method but they don't understand what it means to scale it, to grow it, and actually to become profitable.
Mm,
Um, and that's due to because there's so much working in the business that they
mhm.
don't know how to work on the business. One of the locations that we just helped in New Jersey, amazing group of guys. They have such a potential because their messaging and their mission is really strong, which is the only people we'll work with. We won't work with people who are just, I want turnkey. I don't believe in turnkey gyms. I believe in you. If you have a mission, you want to help people, we're going to help you. And he just didn't know what to do. We put some systems in place. In 30 days, he grew his revenue by 72% and started buying signs and more equipment. He was excited. I was like, yeah, just do this and keep replicating it. And now he's doing a lot of really cool partnerships with colleges. And it's just really exciting to see the impact through there. So our job is we're the back end of it for you, and we're going to give you the fuel to get out there to really push your message across and see where you want your boutique gym to go.
Wow, that's so cool. I love that. Um, in wrapping up, I always ask three final questions and then
Yeah.
anything that we want to leave our listeners with. So, first and final question is if someone is looking for their purpose, what's one sentence that you could say that could help them find it?
Fear is the great indicator. Nine times out of
Elaborate a bit.
yeah. So 9 times out of 10, we know what our purpose is. We just doubt it because
Mhm.
we don't know if it's real. We don't know if it's
Hmm.
realistic. And that could be a whole new invention, a whole new idea. Also, it could be, I see this person doing this and I kind of want to do this too, but I don't know if I'm capable of doing it. And every time that I've ignored the fear, I've missed opportunities.
Mhm.
And opportunities come, they do come.
Now I'm like thinking, what am I scared of right now? Let's go. I
Right,
like
like what's terrifying, right?
that. Yeah.
Well, like I told you earlier, it's like this podcast, like this is new for me. So I'm like, okay, let's step into this, right? So fear is the great indicator. If you feel like, oh my gosh, I need to do this, but I'm terrified, do it. What's the worst thing that can come out of it, right? So fear is the great indicator.
Very cool. I like that. Number two, what's a favorite quote and why?
Um, I don't have problems, I just have work to do. That's from Seth Feroce. He owns two companies in Philadelphia. They're like a supplement company and an apparel company. And I say that because I think about people like you and other people I know who really have real problems. They have health problems. They have a lot of things going on in their world. I don't have those. I'm fortunate enough that I don't. So I don't have any excuses. I just have work to do. I just have to show up and get the job done. I don't have problems. So that quote has just been with me every time I'm doubting myself or I'm like, oh, I'm tired. I just think about that quote. I'm like, yeah, I just have work to do. I just got to get this done. I don't have any excuses.
It's good, and I agree with that. I don't feel like I have problems either. And number three, what's one word or sentence you want on your gravestone?
Oh, that's a great question. Serve.
Sure, cool.
Yeah, I believe in servant leadership and just service. And, uh, when it comes to business, if there's anything I've learned, the best deals that I've made that have changed my life have always been a place of not expecting anything in return, but just giving what I can to help. And it usually comes around. It really does. So serve.
Cool. Awesome. So you're running some in the coffee shop and they've listened to this and they're going to try the Live Hard program or maybe they're on it. I don't know. 'Cause that's a big takeaway for me. But what's something we didn't touch on that you think would be really impactful for our listeners?
It's okay if your first dream doesn't end up being the path that you take. So, for example, for me with music, I mean, I thought I was going to be touring around the world consistently at this point in my life. Um, and I didn't. And it's not that that's not still a dream of mine, but I realized that the path that has been attracted to me, that's been brought to me, is so different, but it creates the same results that I'm looking for. So it's okay, no matter where you are in your life, in your teens, midlife, wherever you are, and you're going, I'm been committed to this thing, and I'm embarrassed if I walk away from it to go to this other opportunity. But maybe that's what you need to do. And if I didn't do that, I mean, I would not be where I'm at in my life today. And I'm grateful for it every day. So I think just don't be afraid if the dream changes a little bit because you've changed, because you've evolved, that you do something different. And as long as that's leading to service and helping others, you can't fail.
I like that. That's so good. Guys, make sure to reach out. If you have any questions, we'll have all of Giuseppe's information in the show notes. I know he'll be super happy to talk. Let's go out there. Let's change one life or one starfish at a time. If we can change one life at a time together, we can change the world. Thanks for being on.
Thank you.